Hello and welcome back to the Alaska Seminar Series for 2025. My name is Valerie Stimmick-Bailey from Valerie and Valise, the travel blog focused on Alaska and the American West. And if you are brand new, if this is your first webinar seminar with me, I want to do a quick overview, and then we are going to jump into talking all about Seward. That is what we're focused on. Obviously, that's how you found us. You were looking for Seward info. You are in the right place. So on my blog, I cover a lot of different Alaska destinations and travel tips and so on. And every year I aim to do this seminar series where I sit down with destination experts across the state to get the most important information you need to know and the most updated information. So this video is focused all about 2025 travel. And just generally visiting Seward. So if you find this video in a future year, it's not to say that it won't be still very helpful for you, because we're going to cover a lot of general information, but it will have some 2025 specific things, typically like that might be like new businesses, new restaurants, but we're going to discover that together. I do want to introduce Allie. Allie's going to be joining me to talk all about Seward, and we're going to go through some of the information she's put together, and then we're going to do a Q&A of pre-submitted questions from my community. If you have a question and you're watching this replay, you can just put it in the comments below the video. I monitor that for years, forevermore. So if you have a question, something we don't get to, and you would like an answer either from me or from Allie or someone on her team, we can get that for you. So feel free to comment as you're watching. That's a great way to get additional personalized information that you need that we can provide. Without further ado, I'm just going to hand it over to Allie to talk to us all about Seward. Thanks, Allie.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Valerie. And I'm super excited to talk about Seward. And let's get right into it. Okay, so the first slide is about basic information about Seward and what travelers need to know. And we think Seward is a great destination for someone who has a big bucket list, because honestly, there's so much to do that even I haven't even gotten to touch. And I've lived here for 4 years now, and there's like an endless amount of things to do. So that being said, I also wanted to start off with a land acknowledgement. Seward is on the homeland of the Sugpiaq Alutiiq people, and we have a strong Native community here in Seward. We have the Katuchek Native tribe, and actually just this year they're bringing back the Native Youth Olympics here in Seward, so that's super exciting. So yeah, I just wanted to start out by saying that. And then Seward is about a 2.5-hour scenic drive or train ride from Anchorage. People will typically fly into Ted Stevens International Airport and then travel to Seward from there. And then we have a lot of neighboring towns around Seward, so we like to think of Seward as a great home base to kind of jump off into the surrounding areas while you're visiting Alaska. There's Moose Pass, there's Cooper Landing, Soldotna, Homer, things like that. And then we are home to 2,800 year-round residents, with 2,000 other residents living outside of city limits. And then in the summertime, Seward gets crazy. We have 2,500 seasonal residents coming to work seasonal jobs. It is a great place to come and work if you like being in the outdoors and want to find a seasonal job. And then every day we get an average of 20,000 travelers daily, and that number just keeps rising with the incoming cruise ships coming in. So yeah. And then Seward is a full range of local services year-round. We have year-round grocery stores, restaurants, retail shops, a post office, a library, hospital, pharmacy, police, fire, school systems, all that year-round. Okay, so when you arrive in typically Anchorage, you will fly into the Ted Stevens International Airport, like I said earlier. And a lot of people will opt into renting a car when they get to the airport, but there are different ways that you can travel here to Seward. It just kind of depends on what you're looking for. So another way to get to Seward is to take the Alaska Railroad. That's a much more scenic option. And then you could also take the train here to Seward, and it actually deposits you right at the train depot, which is right next to a car rental area, the Hertz car rental and Thrifty rental. So you can have that option. So it just kind of depends on like what you want to do, but it is a straight drive on the highway from Anchorage to Seward. It's a really easy drive, and it's also beautiful as well. And then we also have locally run businesses who pick people up from the Anchorage International Airport. There's red eye rides, and there's other businesses that you can find at Seward.com. And then when you get here in Seward, you can, rent a car, like I said, but there's also a free shuttle that's run by Seward City Tours that I'm going to kind of talk a little bit more about on the next slide. That's a great option for people who maybe are getting off a cruise ship or they just aren't renting a car. And then lodging, there's so many different types of lodging that you can choose from. It just depends on what you want to do, what your budget is, what you're looking for. Again, Seward.com/lodging is a great resource for that. But yeah, there's hotels, there's motels, there's Airbnbs, there's RV parks, tons of different campsites. There's secluded wilderness lodging. You can, go on a lodge on a private island. Like, there's just so many different things that you can do. I did want to make a note that if you are wanting to camp and if you are wanting to have a hookup spot for your RV, do it in advance because they fill up really fast in the summertime, especially if you're going to be here for the 4th of July celebration. The campsites are going to be completely full. So the city campsites, their reservations open up in January. So I would plan ahead if that's something that you are going to do. Yeah, so this is one of the main questions that we get from visitors here at the Visitor Center is about the free shuttle. This is a really cool resource for visitors because it is free and it runs every single day during the summertime. They start in April and then it ends in September, and they run from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., except if there's a cruise ship in, it starts running at 9 a.m. And then, yeah, I just wanted to put like the shuttle schedule down there. You can also get this map in our visitor guide. It's a free visitor guide. You can download it online at Seward.com, or you can also opt into getting it sent directly to your house as well. So just wanted to throw that in there. Okay, things to do. There are so many things to do, and I have a Seward bucket list. I've lived here for 4 years, like I've already said. There's so much to do that I still haven't done. My boyfriend is born and raised Seward. He has a Seward bucket list. So when people are like, how long should I stay in Seward? Honestly, as long as you can, especially if you love the outdoors, if you love hiking. There's so much to do, but I put like most of them into this list so I can just like go through it. Of course, we have the Alaska Sea Life Center. It's the only permanent rehab facilitation center for marine life and mammals. This year, they orphaned a baby walrus, and it is so cute. So if you have time, I would definitely stop by the Alaska Sea Life Center. It's a really cool place to go. And then, of course, we have glaciers. There's wildlife viewing. There's kayaking, there's paddling, there's jet skiing. You can jet ski in Resurrection Bay. There's zip lining, there's dog sledding, flight seeing tours. You can take a flight onto a glacier. There's ice climbing, and then there's guided hikes as well. So if you want to explore the trails, but maybe you're like a little nervous about bears or like knowing where to go, you can opt into booking a guided hiking service. And then, of course, there's fishing charters, and there's also horseback riding. And then there's biking. We have e-bikes here. You can bike to Exit Glacier or around town. And then, yeah, I mean, there's just so many different things that you can do. We have a trails page on Seward.com, which is also a great resource to see what kind of hiking trails that you might want to do. But the most popular ones from like a range of accessibility, like it starts at the Two Lakes Trail, which is great for families. It's more of like an easy hike to do. And then there is the Tonsina Trail, which you go down Lull Point by Miller's Landing. And I love doing that hike. It's got like a little bit of hills, but it's not hard. And it deposits you right out onto Resurrection Bay, onto a beach. And it's like a beautiful hike to do. That's also a family-friendly hike. And then, of course, there's Mount Marathon, the Mount Marathon Jeep Trail. And something that I think is so unique and cool about Seward is the accessibility of trails, like how easy it is. Like majority of the hikes are like literally in a neighborhood, and the mountains here are just towering over our neighborhood homes, and I just think that's so unique and so cool. So yeah, and then like the last hike I will talk about is, of course, there's Exit Glacier, which is a pretty easy stroll to go see the glacier, but you can extend that walk and go onto the Harding Ice Trail, Harding Ice Field, which is honestly one of the most beautiful hikes that I've ever done. But it is a little more difficult, so it's a longer hike. Definitely do that hike if you have like a full day to do it. So I did say how there is wildlife here in Seward. Obviously, there's bears and there's moose, and there's a great birding community here too. And then there's, you can take a boat watching tour and go and see humpback whales or orcas and all that stuff. But that being said, I also really wanted to touch on wildlife safety for our tourists. This year, Seward created a collective called Seward Cares for its Bears, and we're just trying to raise awareness about wildlife safety for our visitors, because we saw a lot of increase of bear interaction with guests, and a lot of the times people just don't really know how to interact when they see wildlife, and when things like that happen, it just ultimately leads to not a good outcome for our wildlife. So, for example, if you're staying at a campsite or at a campsite or somewhere in town, there's going to be a lot of bear-proof cans. So just knowing how to use those and utilizing them will make a huge difference for our wildlife, and also, leaving no trace and throwing away your trash. And then also when you're on trails, it's really good to have bear spray on hand with you. And there are some businesses in town that will let you rent bear spray. I know that the Seward Outdoor Store will, and then the Adventure 60 North will also rent out bear spray. So, and then another thing is please don't approach wildlife. I have seen it many times. It's really cool to see them, but at a distance. And that will keep everybody safe. It will keep you safe, and it will also keep our wildlife safe. Okay, food, drink, and nightlife. I love going to see live music whenever I'm visiting a town. And here in Seward, we do have a good music scene. We're working on getting it even better. But for right now, you can see some great music here in Seward. The Yukon Bar often has live music, as well as Seward Ale House. And then if you're not typically a person who likes to go into a bar, there's also live music at our farmers markets. And the Tidewater Tap House has been doing open mic nights and live music lately, so that's really cool. I know last year, maybe it was 2 years ago, Jessica talked about the Seward Music and Arts Festival. That is currently not happening because the cruise ship terminal is under construction, so no SMAF, but there is still music throughout the summer and winter here in Seward. And then food and drink. We have a lot of different options of food and drink in restaurants here in Seward. I can't pick favorites, but I will say that photo on the right is mine that I took at Primrose Provisions. I love Primrose Provisions. It's a great spot. It's overlooking Resurrection Bay. You can get wine flights and charcuterie boards, and it's a really cute place to stop And there's also shopping there as well. And then next door to that is Zudi's Cafe, where they have really good lunch options. And then we have seafood, of course. And you can get all of that information on Seward.com. Yes, and then we have a great art and culture scene here in Seward. We are the mural capital of Alaska. We have over 30 murals and counting here. And we have a free walking tour of the murals. You can swing by the visitor center and get a brochure that will like walk you through to go to all the murals in town. And then we also have a historic walking tour, and you can also walk the first mile of the Iditarod historic trail in Seward as well. And then we have live music, like I said earlier, a bunch of different events going on. Seward.com/events is our events calendar that we keep updated every day. And then in the summertime, we have farmers markets every Saturday. And then Zudi's Cafe will also do Wednesday markets on the deck, which is that photo on the far right. We also have First Friday art walks in the summertime that the chamber puts on. I love going to these. So basically, local businesses will open their doors and host a local artist, and people walk to each business and they get to talk to the artist and see how their process of the art was. And it's just a really cool summertime activity to do. And then art classes, we have a lot of different art classes here. We have ceramics, we have paint nights, we have like learn how to draw. We have a bunch of different classes that have been taking place. So I just wanted to note that. And then, of course, we have our Seward Community Library and Museum. If you're interested about the earthquake, the 1964 earthquake that hit Seward, there's a movie that they show in the summertime at the museum. I believe it's Tuesdays through Saturdays. Right now, they actually have Benny Benson's original flag at the Seward Museum, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so if you're a history buff, definitely stop by the museum. Okay, signature events. Valerie, I don't know if you've been here for Mount Marathon or the 4th of July. No, it is crazy. People are crazy, but it's so fun to watch. I have never ran the Mount Marathon race, but I might put myself in the lottery this year. I don't know. But so the Mount Marathon race, if you're not familiar with it, people run straight up Mount Marathon and down and then through town, and it's insane, but it's so cool to watch. And it happens on the same day as the 4th of July. So thousands of people come. It's just a great community event. And then there's a bunch of booths going on. There's food and music, and it's just a grand old time. So if you happen to be in Alaska during the 4th of July, definitely come here to Seward and just, to watch the racers. They're all like ants crawling up the big Mount Marathon. It's just so cool. And then we have our Seward Silver Salmon Derby. This is also a really fun event. Thousands of anglers come and try to fish the biggest silver salmon. There's prizes. It's a week-long event, and that's really fun to watch. And then I already talked about First Friday art walks. And then in January, we have the Polar Bear Jump, and that's to raise money for the Cancer Society. And people jump into the ice freezing cold Resurrection Bay. I have done it once, and kudos to anybody who does it a second time. But yeah, that's also a really fun event to watch. And then I mentioned it earlier, but just go to seward.com/events. That's where all the community events will be posted. And then what's new for 2025? We have our winter weekends going on in the winter. It's basically a weekend of the month where we share promotions and events happening with our local businesses. And we're just kind of trying to show that there's still a lot going on in Seward in the wintertime. Maybe you're someone who lives somewhere that's really hot and you're trying to escape the heat. Come to Alaska, come to Seward. It's a great place. I mean, there's less tourists. It's less crowded. sure, there's like some things aren't open, but there are things still here that are open. And, there's still boat tours going on right now that you can go out. There's hiking, there's skating, snowshoeing, so definitely check out. We have a winters page on our website as well. And then what's new for 2025? I mentioned it for a second, but the cruise ship terminal is going to start being under construction. So that if you're taking a cruise into Seward next year or the year following, you still can come into our port, but the terminal will be under construction. They are redoing the entire thing. It's going to be a brand new facility. There's going to be 2 floating docks, and it's going to look really nice, but that's not expected to be done until 2026. And then I was watching the video from when you had Jessica on here, and I know one of the questions was about luggage services. Where can people store their luggage when they get here? We actually have some new businesses who are offering that. There's Dighton Delivery luggage services, and then there's also Orange Bike Delivery, where you can store your luggage. And then we have some other new members. We have ATVing. There's ATV Seward, Alaska ATV Adventures, so just another thing that you could add to your itinerary. And we have guided hiking. Seward Guided Hikes is a new guided hiking company. There's also Seward Wilderness Collective and Kenai Backcountry Adventures. And then we finally have, well, not finally, but we have some salons and wellness open. Some people come and they want to get their hair cut, and sometimes, like in the past, we haven't had barber shops or salons, but we do have some new ones opening up here in Seward. There's the Frozen Cactus Salon, and there's also Southern Sun Wellness, who are new members of ours. And then, oh yeah, the last thing I wanted to talk about was there's a really cool like food truck area next to the Flamingo Lounge downtown. In the summertime, they have started opening up a beer garden, and there's 3 food trucks there, so that's like a really cool option to have there as well. Yeah, sorry, I feel like I just rushed through that, but yeah.
So that's totally awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I do want to just kind of come back to the cruise terminal, because I feel like as much information as we can share, I know it's very early stages even now, but basically my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that this is a major, not just redevelopment, but major development. So if you've ever cruised and you've gone through Seward, it was a very quaint cruise terminal. I loved it because it was very Alaskan.
Very bare bones.
Very bare bones, yeah. It was rustic, if rustic is both a good and a bad thing. This new development and the partners who are involved with it, which includes the Alaska Railroad, this is going to bring Seward to the world-class cruise port terminal that it needs to be, basically. Like it's a major improvement. It's going to be incredible, but it does mean that in the next few years, it's going to be a work in progress.
Right.
So if you are watching, if you're coming in 25 or 26, pardon their dust, when you see those signs, basically, it's going to be amazing. You may want to come back and go on another cruise that goes through Seward and spend more time in Seward when you're there. But yeah, from what I've heard so far, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be very different than it currently is. And it's going to be really exciting improvement for just kind of connecting the different pieces of the infrastructure for the cruise visitors to Seward, right? It's going to be awesome.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's also going to open up a space for us to use in the winter as well. So that's really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, if more music festivals or food festivals or whatever. Yeah. Seward is definitely, it's funny. We'll get to Q&A in a second here, but Seward, when you visit Seward, and I was just in Seward a couple months ago when we're recording this, it's sort of like a very a nice community. And then you learn about these insane things that locals do for fun, like jumping in Resurrection Bay and running up a mountain. And I can't describe to you what it looks like when you arrive in Seward and you look at that mountain, the main mountain is right there. And that's Mount Marathon. You go, wait, people run up that? Yeah. Yeah, it's a compliment to anyone who is physically capable of doing it, because it pushes the limits. I think I've heard, like, there are ultra marathon runners who come train by doing Mount Marathon. So if you're feeling like you want a really good challenge, you could go up even just hiking up Mount Marathon is a challenge.
Okay,
So
yeah, even the hike, I was like,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into the Q&A. As a friendly reminder, if you're watching the replay, you can always post comments with your questions, and we will get to them. We will answer them right in the comments. Here is the first question that I have, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but Brenda's curious if you need a car to get around. We'll answer that, and then also, are there one-way rentals if you rent in Seward? Can you drop off in Anchorage? Let's cover both of those.
So having a car is definitely helpful. It could help you like go into like the surrounding areas. You can go to the Bear Creek Weir. It's easier to go down Exit Glacier Road. But like I said, there is a free shuttle. There are some taxi services here. But it is definitely helpful to, have a rental here. There's Hertz car rental and Thrifty car rental. And then I did go ahead and look at the Hertz website, and they said that you can rent a car in Seward and leave it in Anchorage. There's just a fee, but I would, always go onto their website and call them and double check. But it did say that under their FAQs, so that is an option.
Yeah, and that should be, Brenda, if you're watching, or anybody who's watching, expect a one-way rental fee.
Yeah.
It can be unreasonable, frankly. So it's kind of something you want to research as part of the overall math of how you're going to move around the state. Because sometimes the one-way fee will be as much as the rental itself. So just something to keep in mind. The other thing I want to just add on to your answer is that when I was there in September, we didn't have a car. So if you are just keen to explore the downtown area, the small boat harbor, you can easily do that without a car. And there are shuttles to get to the main attractions outside of town. So based on my personal experience. Here's a question from Sherry that maybe is a personal preference, but there's basically two main ways to get to Seward. It's highway or train. Do you have a recommendation? I don't know. It's like a really tough question.
Yeah, it's like, it's preference. It's what you're, kind of looking for. But the train ride is more scenic, although the car ride is also very scenic. And like I said, you can take the train here and then get a car rental when you get off the train. But the drive here it's just straight shot. It's just a one road. It's about 2.5 hours. You can stop along the way. There's great views. So it's really what your preference is.
Yeah. And then what events not events, but like activities you want to do, right?
And the activity, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the main questions that I think I get that we can maybe address as well is like, a lot of people want to do the train, and then they look at the Kenai Fjords cruise schedule and they wonder if it all fits together. And just a quick answer, yes. So the railroad and the main cruise operators, they coordinate their schedule. So you can take the train here to Seward and get on a Kenai Fjords cruise and take the train back. It's all timed to work that way. Okay, here's another logistics question. And I don't know if there's more than one or if there even is one. So can you help address what the options are for RV? Are there RV rentals in Seward?
There are no RV rentals in Seward.
Okay.
Yeah. There are some in Soldotna, but I would recommend getting your RV rental in Anchorage.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much. That was an easy one. I had a couple different people ask. I don't know if this is something you actually have on the website that you can point us to, but how would someone spend 2 to 3 nights, 2 to 3 days in the Seward area?
Yeah, we do have an itineraries page on our website. But again, this like goes to preference, like what you're looking for. Do you like hiking? Do you like, maybe more leisure activities? But if I like had to personally answer that question, I would say like my first day, I would go on a boat and wildlife tour, maybe to a glacier or just to like see the whales and the orcas. Or I would, if I'm like really into fishing, I would swap that out with like a fishing charter, something like that. And then I would do that for the first day, and then, go to a restaurant and like walk around town, go shopping. And then the second day I would, you have to go to Exit Glacier to see the glacier. So I would go to Exit Glacier, and then personally I would go on a hike. And then also I would make sure I had time for the Sea Life Center as well.
Yep, that's pretty much exactly what I'd recommend too.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a question from Jeremy. If one is staying in a hotel, where, if at all, can you have a campfire in Seward?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there are some public use facilities around town. The law for the city of Seward is you have to have your fire in a designated fire ring that the city has placed somewhere. And there are some. There are some on some beaches, I think, but I would double check on the city website. And then also the Two Lakes Park has a public use pavilion and like a barbecue, and I believe there's a fire ring there as well. And then the Branson Pavilion right on the waterfront also has some really good picnic tables and like barbecue spots and some campfire rings too.
Okay, great. That's more options than I thought there would be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I have one more question for you. Jackie is curious if you have recommended fishing charters or for salmon or halibut, which is actually there's lots of answers for this, but like, where can people find more information?
Yeah. Again, just to plug our website, seward.com. There's a whole section about fishing charters. There's so many different types of fishing charters that you can choose from depending on what you're looking for. Some offer half-day charters, some, most all of them offer full-day charters, but they also offer combo fishing. So you can, really edit it to how you want, like what kind of fishing that you want to get. So, yeah, so it just depends on like what you're looking for. And then that being said, I would highly recommend processing the fish that you catch and like bringing it home because it's so tasty here. And there's options for you to do that. Sometimes it's through your fishing charter, but also Captain Jack's Seafood Locker processes and flash freezes fish for you. And then there's also J-Dock and Miller's Landing as well. But again, go into our website and you can see all the different charters.
Yeah. If you are keen to do some fishing, Seward is a great base for that because you've got deep sea and river and a bunch of different species throughout the summer that are available.
And it's just so beautiful too, going out there. Yeah. It's super fun.
Yep. I get seasick, so I have to be on the bigger boat. So I've never been on a deep sea fishing charter, halibut charter. Never going to happen.
I will take some ginger or something.
It's not. There's nothing strong enough. Okay, so yeah, that covers all the questions I received in advance. So we'll start to wrap this up. Again, last plug. If you have more questions, put them in the comments. I keep an eye on them. The other thing that's down below this video is a bunch of more information. So if you scroll down and you look at the caption for the video, you will find a link to Seward.com. You will find their basic contact information. I've put some of the links that I have for Seward resources, if you want to do some more reading. And yeah, I guess I will wrap things up there and just say thank you so much, Allie, for joining me, for sharing all of your knowledge and information about Seward. I hope that we will see you back next year, or someone from your team, if it's not you, to give us an update on the terminal and everything else that's going on in Seward. Thank you again.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.